All the mentors in the house, please stand up. Dr. Johnson, all the mentors in the house, please stand up. Stand up. All the mentors in the house, please stand up. Yeah. Thank you very much. We actually gave a call time and said the latest the mentors should get here is 3 o'clock. So the last batch will arrive just before 3. We're closer to the time. Please have a seat. So we've just finished that despite panel. And then we're going on to our tech panel. So I'd like to ask Mrs. Foluso Gbadamosi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are we having a great time so far? Yeah? Hasn't it been amazing? All right, so I'm here for I don't want to call it the best panel because I'm a tech person, but you know, it's somehow the best panel, at least in my own book. So we're about to have the technology panel, and I'm going to introduce our wonderful panelists. First of which is Nkem Begho, who is the CEO of FutureSoft. Next is Yomi Ojo, who is the CEO and founder of Printivo. Maybe close. And then we have Seun Tubi, who is representation from BOI. And last but not the least, we have a virtual panelist because, this is a tech panel, so we have to make it, really fancy. Let's pray that technology doesn't, mess us up today. So we have Omojuwa, who I'm sure we all know is a Nigerian blogger, public speaker, socio-economic, political commentator, and so on and so forth. So let's welcome him. Let's welcome him, even though he's not physically here. All right, so we're going to take a short video from JJ first, and then we're going to proceed.
My name is JJ Omojuwa. I'm the author of Digital, the New Code of Wealth. I'm so happy to join the live series with Tubukan Wishika and friends, even though it feels like and son in my own situation. It's cool that we're having this conversation virtually because it's also a conversation on optimizing your business digitally. So even though I apologize for not being around physically. Having said that, can you Google your company right now? You can pay attention to the results later, but what did you immediately see? Did it bring out a result that shows your company or whatever your company has been up to? Did it bring out any result at all, or there was no result? Did it bring out a good result, a bad result? This is your company's CV. This is a representation of your company's legitimacy in the eyes of the world. So yes, your company is legal. You've registered with the Nigerian government or whatever. I don't know what country some people are from. So it's registered with the government, probably even registered elsewhere abroad. But the first place the average person will check out your company is the internet, most likely Google. If you have no presence on the internet, you are undermining your company's legitimacy. You've got to fix up. Get a website, register on LinkedIn, register on Twitter, register on Instagram, register on as many social media platforms as possible. This is very, very important. Register the names, put the pictures. Some of the social media platforms, you don't even have to put things every day, but the important ones you've got to. As a company, you've got to be on LinkedIn and you've got to be busy on LinkedIn. You've got to be on Twitter, you've got to be busy on Twitter. You've got to be on Facebook, you've got to be on Instagram, especially if you are a Nigerian or sub-Saharan African company, because these are the popular platforms in these spaces. Having said that, you need to also understand that conversations are being had about your company online or potentially could be had, because if you're doing business and people are saying nice things or bad things about you, the likelier place they will say these things is also, again, on the internet, on social media. You want to be there when this conversation is being had. If it's a good thing that is being said, you have the chance and opportunity to take advantage of that. If it's a bad thing, again, that's also an opportunity to apologize, to fix up, and to have people see that you're actually a company that is willing to accept responsibility for its errors or mistakes, and it's able to fix up. This is very, very important. You also cannot be talking about how people have to go to the government office to do this or do that when your own company is also not optimized. Do I have to come to your company to do certain things that I could have done digitally? Can I collect my invoice via email, automated? Do you have automated invoicing service? Are payments easy, or do I have to bring cash to pay? All of these things are necessary. And it also helps to have like a blog where you don't necessarily try to sell to people what your company is doing, but you do articles and features based on your expertise with respect to what your company offers, without necessarily saying, oh, we do this, we do that. So for instance, if I'm in the business of shoemaking, I can write one article per week about, how to pick the right shoes, how to pick the right leather, wise price, different subjects around your topic. You want to be the biggest voice. You want to be the go-to voice about issues in your business, issues in your industry. You want to be that person, because if you're that person, the likelihood of people going to somebody else when they have a problem in that industry is very, very low. If they already trusted your voice and if they were already listening to your voice to lead them to do whatever you were helping them to do in the first place without charging. So the idea is to make people buy from you rather than you try to sell to them. And this is very important, especially in a world where social media is taking your voice and your ideas all over the world. Whatever you do, because this is a 5-minute video, I've got to cut it as simple and make it as short as possible. Your website, make it very mobile friendly. Your social media presence, pay attention to your use of language. When hiring, make sure you're very, very conscious of people that have an understanding of new modern tools, use of social media, the internet. So where you don't necessarily have a social media or media department, you have staff that have expertise in these areas, and they can help propagate and project your company the right way. This is very important, especially as we transit to the next decade, where technology will move everything movable, where technology will determine whether some businesses survive or they die. And even though humans are going to be at the forefront of driving technology, you want to make sure that you as a human leading your company and the people you bring into your company to lead the company are very, very conversant with these changes that are going to happen, and they are very conversant with the changes that are already happening, and are very, very in tune with plugging your company to these opportunities. I wish you all the best. If you need to reach out to me, my email is jj@thealpharead.com. Cheers, bye.
Okay, so Yomi, we're going to start with you. Can you just speak to us for about... Yomi is looking at me like, why are you starting with me? It's because you're right next to me. So if you could just kind of, just tell us your thoughts on, technology, career space, business space, and also what you do as well. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Or good afternoon, everyone. I lead Printivo. We're an online print shop. And if you hear the word online print shop, you're asking yourself, what is printing and online? What do they have to do together? When we started Printivo in 2014, I wanted to solve a problem. And it was the fact that people have to leave their homes and offices to go find a printer on the street. The printer will probably make you sit down in their offices for an entire day, or they will even tell you to come back 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. And that for me was a problem, because I'd spent some years in advertising. I spent 7 years in advertising, and we had a lot of vendors we were working with, from the videographer to the sound guys to the illustrators, and the printers were our biggest problems. It's that it doesn't come out on time, or when the print comes out, it's of low quality. So it was a problem I really wanted to solve. And what we do with Printivo simply is we have a website, and every transaction is powered on that website. Prices, everything is there. So customers from anywhere can just log in and pick whatever they want. The sites give you the price, and you check out with your credit card, and it's printed and shipped to your doorstep. Sometimes we have customers who still have to chat with people, but basically our entire transaction is done online. Front end, back end, everything is powered by technology. And that has taught us a lot over the last couple of years that we've been doing the business. When we started Printivo, we were just 5 employees. Within 3 years, we grew to 50 people. Revenue doubled over the years, tripled as well. We're also able to raise funding from both local and foreign investors for the business. The first thing that I've learned doing this is that people look at technology as technology, but for us, technology is more about people. So it's more of who is going to use it, and what are the things these people can actually use. What are the things they currently do with their lives? People already go online to do things. They already go. When Omojuwa started this talk, he talked about people Googling things. More often than not, if you need anything, the first place you will go is to go to Google. So when we started Printivo, it was very important for us that what are people searching online? And by the time we did our analytics, guess what? People were looking for where to print business cards, price of business cards, price of letterhead, where to print in Lagos. We could see those data, and we plugged them into everything we built for us at Printivo. The takeoff was very fantastic. And the next thing after that is that most small businesses always think that technology is expensive. So they are more focused on how do I build my own website, how do I build my own tools, how do I do this and that. Interestingly, the basic social media that you have that you are not paying anything for is technology. And being able to figure out how to use it can actually put you in a better place than the people that you are competing with. So in the beginning, you don't have to build your own technology. I remember when we started Printivo, a lot of people were thinking that we built the first version of Printivo, but the truth is, for the first 12 months of running the business, we used the white label technology. We got a company in Israel that built this thing, and we spoke with them, and we were using that technology, and we were paying. But 6 months into that, I realized that for every iteration that we needed to do, this thing will charge us $40 per hour. And, sometimes it will go as far, they'll tell you they'll spend 10 hours on it. So per day, you could pay $400 just for making few changes on the website. And that was the point that we said, you know what, we need to build our own technology and then hire our own team and everything. But we are taking off using someone else's technology. We had learned what was going on in the market. We built data. We knew what to build and what not to build and how not to do it. And by the time we were going to do our own, it was very, very easy. The third thing I'll talk about, speaking to people building businesses, is that in the age of technology, there is nothing like small business. Because your business is as big as you think. Today, we have Printivo's office in Lagos, but we serve every state in Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, we've started shipping outside the country. It's not on the website, but customers will log in from Ghana, and they will chat with people on the website to say, oh, I want to print. Can you guys ship to Ghana? And then they will get sent an invoice, and they will make their payment via card payment, and it will ship to them. So we're already doing that. In the age of technology, there is absolutely nothing like being a small business. You are as big as you think you can get. Finally, you don't have any option. You have to scale with technology. Because the people buying from you are all technology driven. And it's going to become more of that as we move forward. If you are not using technology to scale your business, your competition is doing it. And you are putting more money on the table for your competition. And that's my input.
Thank you, Yomi. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Nkem, can you, in another 5 minutes as well, kind of just speak to us more about technology and your career? So for those that, maybe are just about to get a job, or those that have already been in the workforce, how can they leverage technology to grow their career and even get into the job market?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nkem Begho. I'm the CEO of FutureSoft. Did you know that 60% of our children under 12 today will grow up to work in jobs that don't exist yet? 60%, yes. Now, number one, for the people who own businesses here, likely these people are going to work in your company. So you need to figure out how you're going to be future-proof in all the things that you do. For the people who have under 12-year-olds, get your kids ready. For the people who are still very, very young and are likely to compete with these under 12-year-olds at some point, get ready. I think that one of the things that we really need to look at when we're looking at our career and building our career is the skills that we have, right? And as an employer of labor, one of the things that I always see is young people, especially straight out of university, coming and thinking, oh, I've arrived. The truth is, you have not. You know nothing, right? And the mindset of accepting that I know nothing is really the hardest part. If you are able to actually shift your mindset to the point where you understand that you are at the beginning and that you really and truly know nothing, and you're open to learning, you will be successful. Because there is no knowledge that is not power, right? And we must become lifelong learners. I always tell my team, I learn every single day. And I asked them, have you learned something new today? And if the answer is no, then really and truly, you're not doing what you should be doing for yourself. Knowledge is an investment, and this investment is in yourself. I spoke at a panel recently that was focused on the future of work, and there was an L&D, learning and development specialist on the panel, and he said, the beauty of what is happening now is that there is a shift. Learning and development is not the responsibility of the employer anymore. Listen very carefully, not the responsibility of the employer. It is the responsibility of the individual, the employee, right? Which means that you have the power to grow at whatever pace you want. Now, one of the things that I've spoken to a lot of young people about this year is they always all say, oh, I don't have time to learn. That's a really big lie. Do you have 30 minutes a day? If you have 30 minutes a day and you are committed to actually learning for 30 minutes a day, if you do the math, you'll see that 30 minutes a day over 365 days is 2 full months, full working days for 2 months that you're actually dedicating to learning. There's nothing that you cannot learn if you dedicate that much time to it, right? So you have to take your learning into your own hands. But in order to actually take your learning into your own hands, you need to know what should I actually be learning, right? And I think that the real focus is about 21st century skills. How do you even learn, right? In our universities, unfortunately, a lot of our education is focused on being able to regurgitate information, but that doesn't help any employer, right? That doesn't help you in your job because you won't be able to solve problems. So learn how to learn critical thinking, build on your creativity, learn how to collaborate, how to communicate properly. And communication is not just being able to talk to someone, it goes beyond that. How do you write a professional email? How do you speak to someone on the phone? How do you make sure that you get results? All of that are part of communication. Literacy skills. Information literacy. Are you actually literate with data, with information that you consume on a day-to-day basis? I had a client I spoke to on Friday, and he said, you know, one of my key account managers for this retail business that I'm running, she got this data from ShopRite, and you know, all she could see from the data is, sir, we're doing better than the competition. And he said, okay, what volumes are we doing versus what volumes are the competition doing? What is the actual total consumption of this particular product? How much potential do you still see? She had not even thought about any of that, so she couldn't answer any of those questions, right? She now said, oh, let me convert it and I will see what I can do with the data. He had already done all the analysis by himself because he was curious. And he said the lack of curiosity is what will kill this girl's career. Right? And these are important points. Media literacy. JJ spoke about digital media, right? Social media. And anyone who hasn't read his book, I will definitely recommend it. He maybe didn't, promote it, but I've read it. It's amazing, and I can only recommend it. Technology literacy. How literate are you? I have people who come into an interview and they're like, oh yes, I know how to do Excel. Then you give them a test and they can't even do a sum. And you're like, okay, so why did you say that you can do this, right? The biggest thing that we need to understand is to learn what we don't know. And I've heard the timer, so I'm just going to say one more thing. Life skills, flexibility, leadership, initiative, being productive, and also harnessing your social skills. And the very, very last thing that I will say is build your brand online, right? And I'm not saying develop a logo and put yourself out there. No. What I'm saying is become a thought leader in your industry. Write about what you're doing, your job, the things that you find interesting, trends in your industry, how digital can, maybe help your industry, right? These are all things that will, first of all, allow you to do research. They will allow you to think, right? And they will allow you to also position yourself in a way that other people who may want to employ you will actually see you, right? And visibility is really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and I've actually been very, very, I've learned a lot in the few. I'm here on behalf of the Bank of Industry. For most of us who are entrepreneurs, it's tough to run a business in Nigeria, right? Yeah. But I can tell you that, there are people in this country who are, despite the tough environment, despite the challenges, they're still able to make, something good out of it. For those of us who are very familiar with the tech, industry, there's an entity called Y Combinator based in Silicon Valley, in California. What they do is that, as an idea person, entrepreneur, you go to them, you make your pitch, and if they like your idea, they decide to take you through a 3-month incubation program. And at the end of it, they give you funding up to $150,000. Since African companies have been participating in this program since 2016, 30 African countries have participated. 18 out of them have been Nigerians. That's 60%. So that tells you that Nigerians are very passionate, they're very enterprising, and they're taking advantage of the opportunities that are available, all around them. So I want to encourage everybody to, despite the challenges, look at the opportunities and see how you can break, into and take advantage of it. For the Bank of Industry, as a lot of us know, our mandate is to support, businesses with finances as well as business services. But we're beginning to pay a lot of attention to the tech, to the startups, to the companies that are going to define the future. They're going to, drive, disruption that are going to take place in the future. And so there are two things we're doing. One is putting funding on the table, making funding available, in a not too traditional, not too conventional way that, if you're a startup, you meet certain criteria, you will have access to funding. I'm going to talk a lot about that, later on. The second thing is that we're also doing what we call CSR, trying to expand the technology ecosystem. Specifically what we're doing in that regard is that, we are beginning to, this particular year, we've funded the setup of about 2 technology hubs. One in Lagos, in Ajah, for those of you who are very familiar around that area, as well as another one in Bayelsa. And what we've seen this done is to be able to galvanize, entrepreneurs who are within particular locations, bring them together, enhance the ecosystem, build the ecosystem, make it possible for them such that, they are able to rub on each other and go through various programs that our partners are putting in place, such that at the end of that program, they will have access to funding. And the plan is that in the coming years, this will be, we'll be able to roll this out across the country. Now, I know I have very, very, very short, time to spend. So, what can you do? How can you take advantage of, some of these things, which I believe is really why we're here and why, we are interested in this. One is that, we may have an idea. You need to connect with, what I would call a mini ecosystem. Now, ecosystem, like I said earlier, is a group. It's a framework that brings together people of different mindset. Probably within a particular technology hub. Probably, being backed by a particular program, such as an incubation program or an acceleration program, with the objective that, if they go through that program and they have access to mentors, coaches, advisors, people that can help them shape, whatever idea they have, turn it into a rough idea, into something that, can actually, succeed in the market. Then, that ecosystem, is eventually is something that will help that idea person, that entrepreneur, that idea to be able to, hit the market. So what I would recommend is that you identify or you locate a mini ecosystem that you can be part of, irrespective of the stage at which your idea is. The second thing you need to do is to develop your minimum viable products, which is, which could be, a solution, a software, a framework, an idea, something that, you can put out in the market, and then, on the basis of, something that you can put out in the market at which you have identified the specific market, the specific beneficiary, the specific, target that are going to benefit your particular product. Now, the third thing is to test your product in an offline environment. This could mean that you may have to, expose your product or expose your idea or solution to maybe a network of very close friends or close families, or it could be that you could work with a corporate organizations, to test that idea on, to ensure that, it's actually an idea that makes it. Because what we found out is that a lot of people say they have an idea, but at the end of the day, when, the idea actually, when the rubber hits the road, you realize that that idea is not strong enough, is not is not something that really could hold the waters. The other thing that you could also do is to enroll in a program. I mentioned incubation, I mentioned acceleration, and there are quite a number of them out in the market. Now, BOI's intention or strategy is to work with some of these people to develop those programs, to develop those incubation acceleration program into something that could accommodate a whole number of people. But, CC Hub has one, maybe it take about 5, 6, or 10 people in a cohort. But when you support them and you're able to accommodate or to be able to take 50 ideas within a cohort, that expands the opportunity. That makes it possible for a lot more ideas, a lot more technology startups to come up. And then finally, if you've done all of these things right, because what you do in an incubation program is that you'll be exposed to coaches, mentors, those who will be able to help you to shape your idea. When you are challenged, when you are critiqued by somebody who has walked a particular path, chances are that things you have not found out before, you're able to identify them and you're able to address those gaps. And by the time you have finished, you've packaged, you've gone through that program, your idea will be ready, and then you'll be ready to take advantage of the opportunity in the market. Now, if you've done all of these things right, chances are that you will have access to funding, because I know that is a question a lot of people ask. I have an idea, particularly in the technology sector. How do I fund it? If you take the pain and the practice to go through some of these steps, you realize that by the time you finish, there will be investors who will be interested in investing in your business. There will be those who will be willing to support you in whatever capacity. And there are different funds available out in the market. There are those who are provided by the venture capitalists. There's those who are provided by the PE. There's those who are provided by families and friends. We're going to talk a lot about that. But what is more important is that funding should not be your challenge when you're starting an idea. What is most important is for you is to build that idea into a minimum viable product and shape it and find a way to go through a program, an incubation program, an acceleration program that will expose you to coaches, mentors, and advisors. And once you have done all of this, then you are most likely guaranteed that you have access to funding.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. The good thing is that we actually have mentors here today. So I'm sure if there's anybody who has, questions concerning that, you can speak to the mentors after. I believe some of our panelists are also mentors. Yeah, so you have access to them, after this session. Okay, so thank you all for sharing with us. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we're going to throw it open to the audience. So if you could start preparing your questions, it would be very helpful. Okay, so my first question is this. So, we've spoken about a lot of things, and I think that the nucleus of all this is that technology has taken over the world, it's taken over the world, and we need to be prepared, we need to be ready. Nkem, you even spoke about our children, and the fact that 60% of jobs that they're going to, apply for are not in existence yet. I mean, for me, that's like, wow, that's 60%, that's quite a lot. Can you tell us, any of you, please, feel free, tell us, how do we become future-proof, right? So you say that we have to also scale with technology, but not just our businesses, even personally, even our careers. Can you just kind of give us some tips as to how we can, how we can leverage technology to help ourselves personally with our careers, with our businesses, and even, children, just everything in that area?
Okay, so I think that understanding that knowledge is at the fingertips at your fingertips because you have your phone with you all the time, right? And figuring out how you actually make your phone into a learning device. I think that that's really at the heart of how you improve yourself using technology, right? So there's Coursera, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's Udemy, there's Go1. There are so many different online learning repositories that you can access. A lot of the courses are actually very affordable. They constantly have sales going on as well, right? All of them have apps that you can put on your mobile phone. So when you say, I don't really have time, think about all the time that you spend waiting somewhere, right? So let's say you have an appointment somewhere, you get there a little bit early, or the person is not ready to see you. You have 15 minutes and you can leverage that time. So I think just understanding that time is something that you can utilize all the time is really, really key. One of the things that I started doing this year was using my time in the car to listen to podcasts and audiobooks. I've done 13 audiobooks so far, and I started in June. I would have never read 13 books. I can put my hand up and say last year I did not read up to that amount of books, right? And I've spoken to a lot of friends who are in similar positions to me who are just like, I just don't have the time. When I get home, I'm so tired. I pick up the book and I fall asleep, right? But then I realized, hey, I can actually use the time in my car. And the first audiobook that I got was 8.5 hours long. And I started on a Thursday. I finished it on a Sunday. And, I listened to it while I was at my son's football practice. And, so I just basically maximized all the time that I had to actually finish this book. And I was like, wow, this is really amazing. And the books that I'm reading are not books, Sidney Sheldon and Nicholas Sparks. No, it's all books that are focused on growing my own knowledge, right? So I've done a lot of autobiographies. I've also read a lot about digital transformation. I've read a lot about customer experience, all the things that I need in my day-to-day life, right? And for me, that has just shown the power of, just having your mobile device with you at all times and being able to just plug in your headphones or connecting it to your car and just listening to it. And whether you have a car or you're going in public transport, earphones are always there, so you have options, right? Podcasts are also great. So there's a podcast by NPR called How I Built This with Guy Raz. It's amazing for anyone who's an entrepreneur. He basically interviews people who have built billion-dollar companies. And some of these companies are so random, like some kind of random trampoline company in the US, right? But the stories behind those companies, the way that people have, really put in their everything to actually build these companies, the problems that they've faced and how they've solved them, that to me is so invaluable, right? So learning and career development, professional development, right, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are an employee, is not necessarily learning a specific subject and getting a certificate, right? There's a lot of informal learning that we need to do as well, right? Watching videos of people speaking about their life experiences, reading autobiographies, those things will actually teach you more. One of the most amazing books I've read this year is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the Nike founder story. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, Yomi read that too. That book, when you read that story, no matter at what stage your business is, you know that one day we'll get there, right? Because he just basically really, really broke it down, and he was so honest about his journey and how, pretty much until he did his IPO, he was broke all the time, right? And living on the verge of bankruptcy. And these are stories that people don't tell, but the lessons in those stories are so invaluable. So I think it's really about you just leveraging access to resources that you have now, which we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago,
Excellent. Thank you, Nkem. Yomi, you wanted to add something?
So I think another way to look at it is that, and this goes directly to people that own businesses, the future is always talking to us. It's just not talking to us directly. It talks to us in form of data and insights. So if you look at the list of the 10 most valuable companies as at 2007, it had 7 non-technology businesses and 3 technology businesses. 10 years later, all those non-technology businesses were gone off that list, except ExxonMobil. Now, the list as at 2017 had 7 technology businesses and then 3 non-technology businesses. Now, those 7 technology businesses, the only one that was there 10 years ago was Microsoft. And it's still there till today. So 2019 list, I'm sure Microsoft is still going to be there. But Alphabet, Google, Amazon, all of them, they all appeared within the last 10 years. That tells us what will happen in the next 10 years. I can tell anyone that there are chances that 10 years from now, you won't find any business that is not a technology business on that list. Because the companies we have now that are $3 trillion companies today are all technology businesses. Now, as a small business owner, the future is always talking to you. It's talking to you in form of data. What we do at Pentivo, and I'll share that, is that we log every single thing happening on the website. So if you visit the website, if you try to search for anything on our website, we've logged it. Wherever you're coming from, your location, the devices you're using, the products you are checking, the products you did not buy, where you dropped off,
whatever is happening, we log everything. And then we review this monthly. Now, we do it weekly to say, oh, what happened in the last 1 week? And guess what? Most of the products we are introducing are driven by those data. It can tell us what are the few things that the way users are behaving. And then with that, you can take smart decisions. We launched a product 2 years ago called Printable for Designers. And it's a marketplace product. And how did we know that we needed to build that? We realized that customers were ordering on the site and shipping to addresses that were not their own addresses. So someone comes to the website who already has an account and he has his phone number, his name, his data is on the site with his address, his shipping address is in Lagos. But he comes to the website and then he orders and he ships it to Abuja. He orders and he ships it to Ibadan. And we started seeing that pattern. And we picked our phones and called a few of those customers. And guess what? People were charging other people to order on Printable for them. So someone is going to tell someone that, hey, I can print your business card. I can print your t-shirt. And then they'll take that person's data and then come to the website and create the product for the person and send it to that person. And that showed us that, this is a segment that we need to go into. And we created Printable for business. Printable for designers, also called Printable for resellers. And guess what? It gives us 10% of our revenue today. No advert budget, nothing, no marketing budget, just smooth. So the future is always talking to you. But it won't talk to you like it will talk to you in form of textbooks. It will just throw data at you, and you need to pull insight from that data to know, this is the next thing we need to build.
Thank you. Okay. So Yomi has given all of us a very good idea about a side business. We can go to Printable and we can get people's orders and fulfill those orders, can't we? Okay, so because of time, we're going to open up.
Sorry, just to quickly add,
okay.
Just on that point, I think it's all about prioritization. If you know that the skill or the experience we're going to need in 5 years' time is critical for us, for our survival, then we'll do whatever is necessary to acquire those skills today. Yeah. It's all about prioritization, the way we spend our time. Like, I was given a responsibility of recent, and what I had to do was to subscribe to a number of journals, articles. And what I do the first 2 hours every morning when I resume work is to digest those materials. And guess what? Over a couple of 6 months, I have acquired skills. I've acquired competency in that new skill. So it's all about prioritization. If we're able to set that priority right, then that skill that we require, we're going to get it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to open to the audience now for questions. There are 3 microphones in front. We're taking 1 question at each microphone. So if you could just quickly step up and ask your question. Okay, there's a lady to my right. Can you please proceed with your question? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Aisha Oyama. I am an auditor. My question is directed to Nkem. To become relevant in the future and so we don't get redundant, what IT tools do you recommend for those in finance? And what IT area do you recommend? And also, for people that want to switch from finance to IT, what areas do you recommend?
Can I answer? Okay. Thank you for your question. So I think that it's not so much about specific technology skills. I think it's more about having broad knowledge of how technology, especially emerging technologies, work. So when it comes to the financial services sector, I would say learn about how artificial intelligence works, learn about how blockchain works, right? Those are 2 key technologies that are going to completely change the financial services sector. And with that being said, there's still somebody building the AI. There's still somebody building the blockchain, right? Which means that if you understand the technology, even if you can't build it yourself, you are a professional in this space, right? Which means that you have valuable knowledge that can contribute into the AI, into the blockchain. So for example, in the legal field, there is now AI available that can predict the outcome of a case. So you put certain parameters inside and it will tell you you have 50% chance of winning this case or you have 20% chance of winning this case, right? A lawyer would not be able to actually give you that knowledge because this piece of AI pulls data, historical data from cases all over the world that are similar to the case that you're putting in and spitting out the information of what the possibility is or probability is of this case being successful or not, right? There were lawyers involved in building this. There were psychologists involved in building this, right? So it's really about thinking, how can you create solutions that can automate certain areas of auditing, for example, right? What are the key areas of auditing that could be automated and could be automated very quickly, that require machine learning, that require intelligence, that could be used with some sort of like blockchain underlying it, right? So I think it's really understanding the foundations, right? What are the technologies that are available to me? But it's really more important to figuring out, how do I solve problems in my sector, right? Using technology, as opposed to, oh, I'm just going to go and learn about AI and then I'm going to now jump into AI. It doesn't really work like that, right? But you can, if you want to transition from financial services into technology, there are lots of fintech startups, right, that need people with financial service industry knowledge, right, in order to actually build their products. So it's more about, what do you want to do, right? Where do you fit in? What expertise do you have? How deep is your knowledge about the financial service sector, and how can you apply that knowledge with using technology? Technology is a tool, it's a driver, it's like a car, right? It will only take you where you want to go if you know the direction. It's not magic. So, I think like our perception of, oh, I'm just gonna do a certification and then I'm going to, know certain things. It really doesn't work like that. Technology, as I said, is just a tool. So if you don't know how to apply the tool is completely useless. So it's really about the knowledge that you have and being able to transfer that knowledge. The future of work is really all about, how do you use the skills that you have, your traditional skills, but apply them in a technology setting, right? How do you automate? The thinking is going to be important in the future, right? The experience is going to be important in the future, because AI doesn't learn on its own. AI learns based on data, AI learns based on experience, AI learns based on input that you put into it. Where does that input come from? So if you are a very resourceful person in your industry, then you will be very key to actually building solutions for the future. So it's also about deepening your own knowledge and understanding how you can automate certain areas of your industry.
Thank you, Nkem. Okay, so we're going to take all the questions at once. We're going to take a question here and a question here, and then one from the live stream audience, because we're very tech savvy, so we have a live stream audience. So please proceed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Okwetunde, and my question is on talent retention. So for someone that is a non-technical founder that has a technology business that is running, and how would you advise that person to retain the technology talent? Very competitive environment where most software developers are either highly priced or they are highly talented and they won't even settle for you because you can afford their. So that's my question.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Okay, hi, my name is Shawa. I'm a product manager at a tech company, and my question is to Yemi Ojo. I'd want to know what metrics are most important to you as a company. I know you mentioned, using technology to capture some data from users and all of that. So I want to know what metrics are the most important to you as a company.
Thank you. So we have two more questions, both for Yomi. One is around how to raise funds. So you mentioned that you raised funds from both local and international investors. So people want to know the process that you went through. Did you join an incubator? What scriptures did you use to pray? Number two, for a business that's just starting, what's most important? A website or an Instagram account?
Great, okay. Yomi, I think that you should start. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll start with your own question. How to raise funds from investors. I think the first thing you need to do when you are starting your business is not to look at it from raising funds, but look at it from building value. The truth is that when we started Printivo, we just wanted to solve a problem. I had some money in the bank, and I emptied it into Printivo, and I literally became cash, like I had nothing left. And we ran that for 6 months. And 6 months after we launched Printivo January 2014. And June, an email dropped. Hey, we love what you guys are doing. We've checked online. We even use the services. Can you come over for a meeting? And it came from a PE firm. And I've never spoken to an investor before in my life. So I don't know how that place play. I picked up my phone and I called Sim Shagaya, who I had met at the conference. Again, networking. And I said, hey, this is what I got. My name is Yomi. I'm the founder of Printivo. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm in Ikeja. Oh, he said, oh, I'm in Yaba, in my office in Yaba. Can you come over now? And I went straight to his office. And we sat down, we looked at the business together. We spent about 45 minutes together. And I went for that meeting. Walked into that meeting, and we started talking, showed them the numbers. And the partner looked at us and said, wait, you guys are six months old? And I said, yes. He said, nah, it's too early. We are PE firms. We are not VCs. We can't do early stage. But we love what you guys are doing because we've seen this model work elsewhere. And we can see the way you guys are approaching it. So because we love what you're doing, we'll introduce you to VCs who have appetite for early stage risks. And that night he did that intro. And those guys met us like a week later, and they took time. So we'll meet, and then they will go away, they will disappear. And then come back after 3 months to say, hey guys, what's up? How is the number? And then you will show them the number, you have the meeting, and then they will go again. And then they came eventually, I think December that year, and we looked at the numbers together, and they said, okay, they said, now time to do the deal. Now, that teaches you that first, you need to be uptight with your numbers. You don't have to be an accountant to get your numbers together. People want to invest in value. I mean, investors are putting money in your business because they want something in return. They are looking for an exit. They are looking for dividend, whichever one. They just want to get their money back, right? And most of them, especially VCs, are not investing their own money. So they owe other people explanation for money they will put in your business, right? So if you've created value, if your numbers are right, and you can show them that, hey, there's business here. So we had a lot of data that we had collected on our own. And then we had other data from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. At the point, I had to get Dr. Yemi Scarlett's number to reach out to him directly to say, hey, we need this data. So we put all these things together to show them that, hey, this is what has happened in the last 3 years. This is what's going to happen in the next 5 years. People are ordering this thing offline, but we've created a space online, and we can tell you that we can move the numbers offline to our own business online. So we gave them value, we gave them insight, and they could see a business. More importantly, they could see a team that they believe that this team, they have domain knowledge and they are committed to doing this thing. And we raised our first round from that. But also after raising that money, I realized that I still didn't know enough that I should know as a technology founder, right? So I went into an incubator. Even after raising money from VCs, we applied to 500 startups, and we got in, which is same as YC. Like YC is the two companies run the similar programs, $150,000, 4 months incubation program in Silicon Valley, and then you go back to your country and build. And we went for 500 startups, and to be very sincere, you just have to be humble, because when we got into 500 startups, in my batch, we had a VC who just retired from his own firm and started his own fund, and started his own startups and came into the incubation program. Now, this is someone that in Silicon Valley, well-known and can afford to raise $20 million from his pair of VC friends without coming into an incubator program to run an incubator program and raise $150,000, right? But he did that program for us. A few days ago in the news, he raised $5 million. But guess what? He did it with us. And we had other founders who had raised $5 million before coming into 500 startups. The knowledge was very critical. So I would recommend that you go and do that. The second person about the question around metrics. Different business would have different metrics. It depends on what you are building. If you are building, let's say, a social media network, you want to talk about active users, because that is the first thing people are interested in. For Facebook, what is important to Facebook is that you are logging on to Facebook every day and spending time there. Why? Because that is the only way they will show adverts to you. So active users drive every other thing as far as they are concerned. But if you're an e-commerce business, right, you want to start talking about GMV if you sell other people's products. So you want to know how much you make every month, and it's not just one metrics, to be fair. You have a lot that you need to keep your eyes on, because sometimes you can look at revenue and say, oh, we are making a lot of money. But guess what? One other metric somewhere is going down. If you say, oh, we are making a lot of money, but there are chances that you are losing customers. So you need to look at things like, let me give you a few. Active users, active customers. Active customers are people who buy from you completely different from active users. People like Facebook and the rest, they focus on active users. But if you are an online business that actually sell and people pay you, then you need to look at active customers. And for us at Plenty, we measure that by people who have actually paid us in the last 1 year. So if you've ordered in the last 1 year, you are active. But if you've not ordered, then we can say you are no longer active. And how do we ensure that you are active? Average order value. What is the average order value that happens on your website? So you want to say total your revenue divided by number of orders you have every month to know this is the average order value that comes to your site. And then you start thinking, how do I drive up this metric? If my average order value is $100, how do I make sure this goes up? Customer lifetime value. How much can you make from a customer all through the time they are active on your website? These are key metrics. But again, it depends on your business. And you have to choose which one is important for you. I remember when we went into 500 startups, the first thing we did for the first 1 week was to decide what your Northern Star is. And that is your one metric that matters. And for some of us, it was revenue. But guess what? You put that there, and then you put the several other metrics that will determine what will happen to that one metric that matters. And you work on those ones, and it drives that thing up. So you just need to do a couple of research to know which one is important for your own business.
Business. Thank you, Yomi. There was a question about Instagram or a website from a business owner who was asking that should she or he focus on Instagram or focus on a website? Can one person just quickly answer that, please?
I would say it depends on how deep your pockets are, right? And also what exactly it is that you're doing, right? So if you are a business-to-consumer business, so you basically sell directly retail, then I would say definitely go with Instagram because you have users that can discover you. So if you have good content, it's much easier than if you build your own website and you then have to spend a lot of money on driving traffic to it, right? If you're a consulting business, for example, I would say build a website because I don't think anyone is going to take a consulting business serious if they only have an Instagram page. So I really think that it's a function of what type of business do you have, how much money do you have, not just to build the website, but to also drive traffic to it afterwards. Because you can build a fantastic website. If you don't drive traffic, right, then it's pretty much dead. You know, he talked about revenue that comes through adverts actually being placed, and then revenue that comes through referrals and other type of things, right? So there's a very big difference between those two. So you must make noise somehow, right, in order for people to actually come to your website.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Nkem, for that. Okay, so there's a final question that says, in areas where education is not as widespread, so many areas of Nigeria, how do we incorporate technology into education practically without waiting for government? So I know that we have solutions like virtual reality. I know we have Google and a lot of other tech businesses that are now going into the rural areas. But can one person just give us a quick response to that? Anybody that has experience in that, and just tell us, how that can be done so that we can learn and we can probably encourage and do the same from our small spaces.
Okay, I can take that. I think that there's now a lot of technology that also works offline. So, there are projects that work with rural areas where all the content is on tablets and they go in there, they figured out solar solutions because there's no power. So it's really about figuring out the sustainability around it and then figuring out what is the easiest way to deliver the content, right? And having basically a mobile type of environment where everything is on a tablet and it's preloaded, and there's an e-learning environment or games or whatever it is that you're using to teach, right? But I think it's really around developing content and then also thinking about things like language. So you might have fantastic content in English. You go into a community and everybody speaks Yoruba or some other language, and people are not able to actually consume the content that you've created because it's in a language that they don't understand, right? And then also thinking about literacy. I think for rural areas, that's a really big factor as well, because not everybody can read and write, which means that if your content is content that requires reading and writing skills, again, the people might not be able to learn, right? Which means that how do you create video, for example, right? Video is a fantastic way to learn because if it's in the language that I speak, then I don't need to read, I don't need to write, I can still understand it and I can consume it and I can learn from it. Gamification, having, also figuring out how you do, voice to text, where even though the person cannot write, if they can respond in a language, it can translate that into text and then basically, help them answer questions and things like that. There was one more question that you forgot. Yes. It was about the software development.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll quickly answer.
I think Seun wants to take that.
Okay, let me just quickly say something on that. I think the challenge a lot of us have is that we want to be founder, owner of everything. If you need a skill, there's a particular skill you need that you don't have, you can partner with somebody. You can identify somebody that has that skill and go into partnership with that person. The reality is that it's better for you to be part of a business that generates, hundreds of millions of naira than being, the single owner of a business that generates just hundreds of thousands.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so just a quick wrap up. In summary, what everybody has said is leverage your network. So like you said to the startup founders or business founders, if you don't have a skill, leverage your networks and, figure that out. Use data and insights to improve your business. So make sure that you are using that. Yomi has given us great examples of how he was able to do that. And please be a problem solver. Whether you're in business or you're in career, be a problem solver, be a value provider. And we got a lot of good places that we can learn. So don't stop learning. Check out Coursera.com, Udemy.com, LinkedIn Learning. And lastly, podcasts and audiobooks. Don't say that you don't have any time. When you're in your car, you can put your podcast on and stop scrolling through Instagram. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Foluso. Thank you very much. You're amazing. Thanks, Dan. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, quick picture. The whole reason for the tech panel is because we realized that technology is a tool. And we didn't want, if you're thinking about the future, you cannot be ignorant where technology is concerned. It doesn't matter what your area of interest is. You must find how technology is relevant to it and how it will affect it in future. So we want you to think about it from that perspective and not just be caught with certain things. Now,